Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Aussie writers and other creatives.
Hello, and I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and a content writer as well, and Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we're bringing you all kinds of tips, ideas, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. Hi Rach, another week, another podcast episode. I know we said we would take a break, but I think I railroaded you into this one to recording another episode before we had that. We've had such an influx of listeners in recent weeks, and I was keen to take advantage of us being on a roll.
Yes, we do have a lot of new listeners. So welcome. If you are new to the Content Bite, we're really pleased to have you. And yes, Lynne is a bit of a tough taskmaster. Whenever I'm about to go on holiday from the podcast, she pulls me back in. But I have to admit, this week's guest was my idea. We're talking to Sue Bell, who's behind the amazing Launceston Freelance Festival. I'm actually really so honoured to be one of the speakers at the festival this year. And after seeing the schedule, I really wanted to get Sue on the podcast to tell us all about it.
Sounds good. How about you tell me all about Sue?
I'll just do a little bio before we get her in the hot seat. Sue Bell is a digital learning consultant and an interactive media specialist. She designs, develops and delivers digital media, design thinking and cyber entrepreneurship training for private organisations, tertiary institutions and media professionals. Her passion is to upskill women in the digital technology space and to expand people's online engagement using interactive storytelling for social media platforms. Sue also teaches courses on how to write stories for new and emerging technologies, including virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. Wow. And Sue is also the founder and director, as we said, of the successful Launceston Freelance Festival. So welcome, Sue. We are so stoked to have you on. You must be so busy at the moment, so we are really appreciative that you've made the time to come on as well.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be on here.
It's so lovely to meet you, Sue. We have to ask right at the beginning, so where did the idea for the festival come from and how long has it been going for?
Okay, so the idea actually originated when I was over in the MIA offices in Melbourne, the Media and Arts Alliance offices, and I was speaking to Jenny Farrer, who used to work there, and she's moved over to Media Super now, but she and I were talking about how there wasn't really much for freelancers to upskill and get together and just network and find mutual sort of opportunities and get to know other people. And then I said to her, maybe I could run something, maybe there's something we could get off the ground. And so from that, I went back to Launceston and had a bit of a think about it, and then just came up with the idea of a festival so that would sort of be a celebration of freelancing, but also the opportunity to network, upskill, listen to expert freelancers, on panel discussions and keynotes. So Mia were behind it from the start as well. And then we got the Walkley Foundation for Journalism on board because they used to have a program called Storyology.
Oh, yeah.
And one of those days for Storyology was a freelancing day. And when that no longer ran, there was that gap. And so we spoke to the Walkleys and they were happy to support the festival and send down a few of their people to speak as well and be part of it. And then Media Super as well, because by that stage, Jenny had gone over to Media Super and they were happy to be a founding partner. So it was really the three organisations initially. And the first festival was held in 2018. And it was a biennial because we thought every 2 years. And then 2 years later, unfortunately, was COVID. So it was a virtual festival. Yeah. So we really only had one face-to-face and then the second one virtual. So this is the next one that's coming up is face-to-face again.
How fantastic. Exciting. Do you need a kind of events background or something to put something on, or have you just sort of flown by the seat of your pants trying to put it together and learning as you go? I mean, how do you even start putting a festival together?
Well, I don't think you need an events background, but it helped that I'd run events before in the sense of I've always worked I was a teacher for a while and I would run events for our multimedia organisation, our teaching association, and that was all workshop based and upskilling. And then I also ran workshops myself just on self-publishing and Photoshop. And then I went to a lot of conferences on behalf of Adobe because I used to do quite a lot of work for them. And then I'd go and run things there. So I sort of had that background of running, workshops and small events, very small events. But so this was just, a bigger jump into getting more people together. But I love doing that. I love asking people if they'd like to come and thinking about where I can fit them into the schedule and who could be the person who is the moderator on that panel, and, just like a jigsaw, putting everybody together and the best talent that's out there. And so, I find that part of it really easy, actually, putting together that part of it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so, I love that.
You've got a really good lineup this year. It's just so interesting. What are some of the keynotes or sessions that you're most looking forward to?
Well, yours, of course, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
Really looking to
the pressure's on.
Yeah. Corinne Podger, she'll be great. She does a lot of training. She's running a workshop, but she also does a lot of digital skills training and works a lot in the Asia Pacific region. So she'll be talking as well as running the workshop. There's Karen Percy, who's an ex-ABC journalist. Looking forward to her talk because she's gone from being, full-time journo to now stepping into the part-time role. And she's now part of MIA as the director of MIA, and she's also part of the Walkley Foundation. So be really interesting to hear from her. Marina Pullen, really excited to have an IT freelance platform talking. We haven't had that before. So she's the director of Jungle. So she's going to be talking about what's involved with being an IT freelancer and valuing your worth as well. She's very passionate that she says everyone always undersells themselves. And she has to say, no, we're upping your price because, you deserve a lot more than that. So I'm really excited to hear what she's got to say. And we've got Bonnie Blay coming from the Judith Nielsen Institute for Journalism and Ideas. She's going to be talking about grants and how they can work with freelancers to get their ideas to fruition and how they can work together. So, that's just some of them. But I'm really looking forward to, and Shona Martin, of course, from the new CEO of the Walkley. She was an editor at HarperCollins, and she's going to be talking about what editors look for with pictures. And there's just so many people. The broadsheet editors are coming too. And they are actually looking for pictures from local storytellers here for their broadsheet magazine. So they're looking for Launceston, Tasmanian stories, as well as if you work in any of the other mainland cities, they've got a presence in all those outlets as well. So freelancers who are coming from interstate will have an opportunity to talk to them as well. So, really excited. It's a job bonanza, opportunity bonanza, meeting all these, getting to know all these people, all the opportunities out there.
Amazing. Oh, wow. It's going to be like 3 such packed days, isn't it? You'll just be overwhelmed by the end of it. Need a good lie down. A stiff drink and a good lie down.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And we ply you with drinks as well. So.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, awesome.
Maybe not a stiff drink.
Yeah.
You need a detox.
So, there's a lot going on.
So what sort of freelancers usually attend? Are they mostly writers or a bit of a variety? Yeah,
it's interesting because a lot of people do associate freelancing with writing. And whenever I say to people it's a freelance festival, they always say, oh, right, the Freelance Writers Festival. And I go, no, it's not just for writers, it's for anybody. There's lots of types of freelancing. And like I was saying before, there's IT freelancers and contractors, there's, photographers, videographers, there's PR, marketing, journalism, writing, all sorts of things. So it's getting that idea into people's head that a lot of people freelance. And that's why, I'm really excited to have Jungle coming and talking about IT as well. Just getting people to understand that, there's a lot of freelancing happening and a lot of people are looking at freelancing as a career and that they can branch into all these different areas. So, so writers, great, obviously, there's a lot of freelance writers, but there's a lot of freelancers in general. And the more that everyone can mingle together, the better.
Yeah, we talk a lot on the podcast, particularly, don't we, Lynn, about, expanding your network and how important it is to do that, because we can all just exist in this bubble and think, that's how we want to work. But actually it's when you open up and meet people that you get more work opportunities and things just start to really happen for you. I fully believe that and believe in that whole power of community. I think I'm on a panel down there talking about how to build a community. And I think it's so important to, create that community around yourself and to tap into those online communities if you are a freelancer, because it can be so isolating. But yeah, I'd be really interested to hear, some of the issues that you think people will be talking about down there. Are there any sort of really common issues that are facing freelancers right now?
Well, I think one of the most important ones is how to get started. A lot of people aren't sure how to actually become a freelancer. They're really keen to get into it, but they don't know where to start. So that's always a big one. How to network is always a good one, and building relationships with editors. So it doesn't matter if you're a writer or a photographer, videographer, with all the digital media out there, you're pitching to different types of editors. So, the pitch you'd give to a digital editor is going to be different to a pitch you might give to a, print editor. So where does your story fit, your photography or your videography? Where's that going to fit? And even with PR, where do I pitch that, or marketing and all that sort of stuff. Another one is payment is a huge one. Like, a lot of people do stuff for free or undervalue themselves, and it's trying to get them to see that, your skills are very valuable and this is what you're worth, a lot more, and don't do it for free. Like, I think if you're just starting out, rather than do things for free for people, maybe just start a blog and build up your experience that way, so you've got a portfolio and you're not being exploited. Because I know when I started my career, because I started off as a journalist, years and years ago, and I did a lot of stuff for free. I did a lot of entertainment journalism. It wasn't so bad, I guess, because I got, because I was working in entertainment, I got, to see a lot of theatre and a lot of movies and then dinners and all that sort of stuff. So I was sort of getting payment in kind. So I didn't mind so much, but I don't think that really happens anymore. I think it's quite different now. A lot of people just are exploited and don't get anything for it. So it's, don't undervalue yourself. Don't do stuff for free. Building up your portfolio, through blogs or some other, way of displaying your work. Superannuation is a huge one. Like freelancers, I've met a lot of freelancers, particularly women, who only have like $10,000 in their,
oh my
in their
goodness,
superannuation. Yeah, really, really bad. Yeah. And the other one is skill sets. What skill sets do you need, and how can you build up those skill sets? So there's some of the main issues that come up.
Yeah, well, I think they're common issues because they're the sort of things that Rachel and I often talk about on the podcast, particularly like starting, building up a portfolio, and also we're big advocates of never working for free.
Yeah,
because it undermines yourself and your career as well as the whole industry. I just don't think there's a need to do that. Yeah.
Lynne just did a lunch club, actually, like in the Rachel's List Gold group. We've got this lunch club initiative, this new thing that we've started where, once a month we have a speaker talking about something, and Lynne talked about how to get paid the big bucks.
Yeah. How to earn a decent living. Yeah.
How to actually earn decent money and, get your cash flow up and actually create, a solid, consistent income year on year. So yeah, it's so important. And a lot of people, especially from journalism, don't really know how to do that. Or like you say, they do undervalue themselves, or they're used to being told, well, we only pay 30 cents a word and it's like it or lump it and that sort of thing.
Interestingly, a freelancer said to me not long ago that if you're not earning $150,000 a year, you're undervaluing yourself. Well, $150,000.
Yeah,
that's great money.
It's a good aim to have.
It is a nice aim.
It's funny because I've been to talks where freelancers were asked to talk about what they actually were earning, and it really shocked me that so many of them were earning 20 and 30 grand. I just couldn't actually believe that. So, there's such a wide spectrum, I guess.
And that's what Marina from Jungle is going to be talking about, how to negotiate those rates when she does her keynote, how to put the value on yourself. Because, and like I was saying before, IT workers too, they're not valuing their skills. And people aren't going to offer you more money if they think that you're going to take less. So,
for sure,
it's getting that confidence to make sure that you get what you're worth, but not outpricing yourself as well. You don't want to put a ridiculous price on it either. You've got to be reasonable. So
yeah. It's like that meme. I don't know if you guys saw the one that I posted on Rachel's List on the Instagram today, and it was the guy who said, what's the breakdown of your rate?
Oh, yes.
He said, the breakdown is $2,350. the cost or something, and the cost of not doing it is $0. And it just got so many comments and likes because it really resonates with everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sense of having the the confidence to be like that and to say, this is my price. And that's the end of it, sort of thing.
And being confident to walk away too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if that's it. Yeah, that you'll get something else, elsewhere. You don't have to settle for what.
And you do. I mean, that's probably where I stand. I tend to have my price and that's it. And I do get work elsewhere. So, but it obviously, I've been doing this for a long time, and that gives you confidence as well as the contacts and the portfolio. So I can probably do that a bit more easily. But yeah, I think, standing your ground is really affirming and quite good for you. Tell me about Tasmania, because I assume you're based in Tasmania. Do you think there's some challenges for freelancers when they're not in a big city?
I don't think so. Not these days. I think with the internet, and Tasmania's got the best internet, pretty much one of the best internets in Australia, really fast NBN. I think it's actually a great place to go. One of the ideas too, when I first put the festival together, was the whole idea of digital nomads, because I was seeing a lot of digital nomads going to Bali and all these other islands. And I thought, but Tasmania's an island, why don't they come here? Because, it's great over here as well. So one of the panel discussions on the first festival back in 2018 was about being a digital nomad and coming to Tasmania and setting up here. So no, not at all. I think it's actually really easy and much easier working here in a way, because it's not as hectic. So I think you get a lot more time and you can just sort of be out of the city in 10 or 15 minutes and in the countryside. It's an easy lifestyle. So no, I don't think there are any disadvantages.
I definitely think that's kind of, if there is a silver lining to COVID, that's it. It has created this sort of trend of remote working. Companies are accepting that so much more, long may it continue, I say, because, it does give all those regional workers a chance to pick up jobs as well as people in big cities. It really feels like it's such a big shift, and it has really changed. And I'm so happy about that. Like, I see it on Rachel's list all the time, the remote stuff coming through. And if a job comes through and it's not remote, it's like a bum on a seat type job, we always say to them, can this be remote? Because, you're really cutting off your pool of talent by making people be in that city or something like that.
And do they respond to that?
Yeah, a lot of people will say it's an option, if we find the right person and they're remote or they're in another city, we will look at it. So it's more and more we're finding that people just offer that flexibility now as part of the criteria, which is great.
That's good. Yes.
So what about your day job, Sue? Does it take a back seat when it comes to the festival?
I wouldn't tell my boss that, but obviously they like to think, because I work remotely too, they like to think I'm sitting at my desk doing all my work. But I juggle like 3 jobs, different contracts. So when the festival comes, I must admit, because I love doing the festival, I do kind of try and sort of push my day job a bit to the side and get all my festival stuff out the way. But I've got to be a bit disciplined, because it would take over, and it did back in 2018. So I just try and juggle. I'll think, well, I'll have this particular day I'm just going to work on the festival, and the other days I'll do my other work. So 2 days a week I try and dedicate just to festival, getting everything done, and and then if it means I have to work on the weekend to get my other work done, then I do. So I figure it's worth it.
Yeah, wow. You've had a really interesting career, Jenny. You mentioned before that you were doing lots of entertainment journalism when you started. That was kind of what I was doing too. I was a movie reviewer for really a long time, and I did a lot of restaurant and bar reviews as well. Those were the days. I look back on them fondly. But your career has sort of gone in a very, different direction as well. And you're now an interactive media consultant. And also that what we were reading in your bio about the storytelling and with all those different mediums. Tell us a bit about what you do. It sounds so interesting.
I've specialised in digital media for a long time, and when I left journalism, I went into teaching. So I was a digital media teacher for a while. And then from there went into teaching digital in universities. And as I went along, I guess I just sort of kept, I think once you, this is what I often tell people about digital, is once you pick up some key skills in software, they're transferable across everything. So it's really not as challenging as people like to think. Like, I think a lot of IT people like to put up that idea that, oh, you know, you've got to be Elon Musk or something, but you don't. You know, once you build up some skills, they're very transferable. So with all the digital that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of work in e-learning, because one of the things I really disliked when I was working in universities was seeing lecturers using, you know, old PowerPoints that they'd used since, you know, 1983, and they were trying to teach with that, you know, in 2005, 2006, and you could tell they were these really outdated PowerPoints because the music in them, they were still using the music from Pink Floyd The Wall, and I was at school when that was on, and I'm thinking, what the hell, why are you doing that? You know, update the music at least. Yeah. And like, so I'd see all these poorly designed PowerPoints and then PDFs, and I thought, no, you know, you've got to do better than that. So e-learning was just taking off then. And so it was always my passion to sort of bring in the storytelling into the e-learning. And part of that was using a program that journalists use called Shorthand. And I introduced that into one of the universities I was working at to lay out their e-learning material like storytelling, like you're telling a story. And it was so much easier for the students they enjoyed it, you know, instead of being stuck with these awful PowerPoints that they'd been loaded online or PDFs. They were looking at a beautifully, you know, lots of images with, you know, video clips and audio clips. And so that idea of that storytelling with all these different mediums. And then I wrote a short course on futurism and the skills that you need for the future. And because I was working at universities, I thought a lot of their curriculum was a bit outdated, particularly for journalists. And I was sort of saying, well, look, you really need to skill them in, say, augmented reality to write stories for VR or augmented reality. So when those jobs are there, which might be 5 years away, they can do those jobs, or they can start be part of that industry. Like, they can be at the very start of that industry. And so that's how I got into that. And then I went to a conference in New York, and they were all talking about that. At that time, the cost was a bit prohibitive to have it as mainstream, but those costs will come down. So, I mean, if you can get your foot in the door or start a company, if you become the expert storyteller in VR or augmented reality or mixed reality, then you're way ahead of everybody else. So it's a bit like the early days of the internet, you know, if you got online then before the 1999 crash, you know, you were making good money, and then it crashed. But the ones that survived that crash, like the Amazons and everything, look at them now. I mean, you know, so they were just there at the start. It's not that they were particularly brilliant, they were just there. And that's how I see it. Like, if you can see what skill sets are needed, then you can, you know, put your all your energy into becoming the best at it before anyone else is. So that's how that all came about.
That kind of forward thinking is just so, I just love it. You know, it's something that we should all do as freelancers and learn to do, just to think ahead and, you know, where do our skills need to be? And, you know, it's so important. I do a lot of careers writing, and it's all about AI and automation is coming. And so what do we need to do to kind of get ahead of that and still be employable and that sort of thing? So
exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
One of our speakers who's spoken at each festival and is really, really popular is Dr. Marcus Bowles, who talks about the future of work. And he always puts up all the information about the skill sets, what jobs are needed, what aren't, and all that sort of stuff. But the biggest takeaway of his talk is it's those interpersonal skills. It's that ability to talk to people that's actually more important than your technical skills. And that's true, because you can learn those technical skills, you know, but that ability to network or talk to other people or be flexible is a lot more difficult. So they're the really important skills, those people skills.
So we don't really need to be scared that the robots are coming, because if we have those soft skills, we're going to be okay.
Exactly. They can do the mundane work. Or, well, actually, robots now, some of them are writing journalism stories, and it's really hard to tell the difference.
Oh, no.
But, you know, we'll just create other jobs, or we'll let the robots do some writing and we'll do other writing. You know, there's going to, you know, we're in charge of the robots, not the other way around. So, I mean, you know, we shouldn't be threatened. I don't think.
For sure. So what does your average day look like?
So I'm working for a startup at the moment, an education startup, and a lot of the work is putting together their e-learning materials. So I might have to organise, you know, to do some filming, because I do a lot of editing of the subject matter experts. So they'll need, you know, I might arrange a studio to make sure that they're filmed and then do some editing, or then I might be putting together some actual e-learning. So using a program to put together, all the text and the pictures and, making it look attractive. And then I also do some work for Premier and Cabinet here in Tasmania on their cyber program, and that's doing flyers and, some graphic design and making that look nice, and doing some e-learning for them as well. So yes, and then then festival stuff pops in, and then I do some digital coaching as well for an organisation here. So yeah, it's a bit of everything, but I like that. I like a bit of everything.
You like the diversity.
I do. Yeah, I think I need a lot of stimulation, and I find it really hard to just do one thing.
Yeah. I think that's why freelancing appeals to so many of us. You can be in that full-time job for a while, and then you get your head around it and you know how to do it really fast, and you're like, right, I'm bored now, I need something else. But freelancing,
yes, that's
means you never get in that position. That's why I love it. Look, I really love that your passion is upskilling women in the digital space. Do you think that women have a block sometimes about digital technology more than men, or is that changing?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've taught a lot, especially when I was teaching in a secondary college, and I was teaching a lot of young adults. And it was interesting because the women were actually off, and I'm talking about teenagers, they were only 15, 16, 17 years old. They were often better at digital media than the guys. Because the girls would listen, you'd go through the whole thing and say, right, this is what you got to do. Just say you're teaching a piece of software like Photoshop, which is pretty complicated. And, you're saying, you got to do this, you got to do that and that. The guys aren't even listening. They're just off playing with it, and getting it all wrong. And then, Miss Bell, why is this not working? Whereas the girls are listening to you and they come up with these beautiful designs, but they lacked the confidence. Like the guys would just go for it and think it was great. And you'd look at it and think, oh my God, what have you done there? Whereas the girls were fantastic. Not all, obviously there was a few guys who were quite good, but I think the thing was, they just lacked the confidence, I think, that their designs were fantastic or that they were good at it. And it was only a few of the girls who actually wanted to be gamers that were really confident in going into a career that involved any sort of IT. The others were all interested in doing psychology. So, even if they were good at digital design, and there was plenty of jobs in digital design, they all wanted to just do that particular subject, which I thought was really interesting. Wasn't sure why they all wanted to do psychology. 2 or 3 maybe, but the whole class.
Wow.
And, whereas the guys would consider other things, like some would go into digital media, some into gaming, some into straight IT. And so there was it just seemed to sort of get to that year 12 level, and then bang, it stopped. Girls just no longer wanted to pursue any kind of digital career. And I just found that really interesting. Like, why? Because there's so much diverse roles you can do in digital media that, I just couldn't understand why they were stopping it or wanted to do psychology. I think they just think you're going to be sitting in front of a screen all day. And sure, if you're a coder, you probably are, but there's a lot of jobs that aren't coding. And they just weren't able to quite connect that you could do something different. You didn't just have to be a programmer. There was all sorts of jobs out there, heaps of graphic design, all sorts of different things. So it was really interesting.
Yeah. I definitely think that's changing.
If you want to be good at technology, you have to dabble in it quite a bit. Like, you have to not panic if your screen goes black, or you think a file goes missing. Like, it's there somewhere and you're going to find it. But some women I found would panic, and then that would set them off and they get really anxious. And I'd sort of say, no, it's okay. Your stuff's there. We'll just find it. So it's just maybe they get more anxiety. I don't know. But I don't think it's ever too late to learn technology. And that's why I teach a lot of women. And it's, never too late. And it's just practice, and not being stressed if something goes wrong. It's not the end of the world. So that's why I'm really passionate about it, because I think a lot of women don't realise that, it's very achievable to become good at digital technology.
It's not a special set of skills. It's something anyone can do, just a bit of practice. And I think, as you said earlier, about confidence. And that's really important. Yeah, I can see.
You become extremely nerdy about technology.
I think it's the fear, isn't it? More than anything, more than the reality. That's what it is that holds people back.
Yeah. And like I was saying, it's about transferable skills. Once you understand one piece of software, it's pretty easy to then go over to another piece. It might take you a few more minutes, but it's all drop down menus, and this thing does the same as that thing over there, and that's what I mean.
Yeah, we were talking about that just yesterday, like once you know one CMS, you pretty much know all CMSs. You can dip in your toe into Canva and you can get your head around everything after a while. So it is just that sort of practice. But look, in line with this, we love hearing about tech tips from our guests, and I know that you must have heaps. I particularly want your tech tips on setting up a festival, because I wonder if there's some crazy program that you use in order to coordinate all the bits and pieces, or do you just use a spreadsheet?
Yeah, look, I do just use a spreadsheet, and sometimes I just use Notepad. I just jot down things on Notepad, file it away somewhere.
Old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
Notepad as in on the computer. Yeah. I'm lucky because I do use technology all the time, so I can build the website, and I can, put together the email campaigns in SurveyMonkey or Campaign Monkey or whatever it's called. What is it again?
MailChimp.
Is it MailChimp? Yeah, I knew there was a monkey in there somewhere.
SurveyMonkey is for surveys, though. That's cool.
That's true. And social media, like I can use anything across those platforms, and I can do video and all that. So I'm lucky that I can do all that. So I guess with tips with technology, I think you have to know how to use a digital imaging program like Photoshop or something like that, or even a simpler one. But being able to crop your images properly is really important when you're putting together anything to do with festivals or any kind of events. You've got to have your images looking professional. So I always recommend a good editing program. And when it comes to Eventbrite or local tickets, they do pretty much the spreadsheets for you, so you can download attendee lists and send off reminder emails and all that sort of stuff. So they're good to use, those sorts of pieces of software. But I do have Excel spreadsheet that I look at sometimes, or Word, Google Docs, something like that. Anything that will make a table for me that I might need to put a schedule in or something. So nothing too fancy, but definitely the digital imaging. Canva's a good program, to do your flyers.
Yeah.
I thoroughly recommend that. And I use Adobe Spark, now called Adobe Express.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
That's also very good. Yeah, you can make flyers and social media posts in that. So both those programs are excellent. In fact, the Canva guy just moved here from the mainland. He, the guy who helped found Canva, has just moved to Launceston.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I was going to ask him to come to the festival.
Yeah,
definitely.
Drop in and mingle. Yeah.
Amazing. What about in your day job? Do you use any particular programs that you'd be really sort of be lost without?
Yeah, I use Adobe stuff a lot. So Photoshop, Premiere Pro, because I do a lot of video editing, and Adobe Spark now, Adobe Express. I use that all the time. I use an LMS all the time called Matrix. And for my own stuff, I use WordPress a lot. Like I actually started on WordPress back in 2003 when it first came out. It's actually become more difficult to use. 20 years later, you're looking at it and think, oh my God, this thing used to be so easy. And now things are everywhere. So I think they make it harder sometimes, for some reason. Instead of things getting easier, they make it harder. Yeah. But I do use WordPress a lot. And WordPress is great because if you can use WordPress, you can, like you were saying, you can use any LMS or CMS. Because WordPress is probably becoming more complicated than the others. So it's great. It's a great platform though. I thoroughly recommend WordPress.
Did you put the festival website together?
Yes, I did.
It looks great. It's really, it's amazing. Yeah.
So, and you can get templates too, which are great. So you can say download a template and then just play around with it and change it. I use Dreamweaver quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Or WordPress. You can put the template on WordPress.
I didn't think Dreamweaver was still even available or used these days. Wow.
Yeah, it's still around. So I don't use it as much. I used to use it a lot, but not as much because WordPress it's so much easier to get a template and put it in WordPress, play around with it there. So they're my main tools. Yeah.
Amazing.
So where can people find out about the festival? Are there any tickets left?
Yes, they can still get a ticket. Still some early bird tickets on sale, actually. Because freelancers, it's been difficult over the last few years, kept the early bird tickets going for a lot longer.
Yeah.
So that's still available for the next few weeks. And you can go to the website, which is the Launceston Freelance Festival.com.au and get a ticket there. Or through local tickets, which there's a link on the website through to local tickets anyway, so they can just go straight there. But yeah, it's $250 for 3 days for the early bird, and that's including the dinner.
It's a bargain.
I know. Yeah.
Amazing.
It includes the dinner and the social networking drinks on the Sundays and the lunch. And this year, the lunches are being catered by a vegan restaurant. They're, award-winning vegan cafe. So
nice.
That'll be good.
That'd be fantastic.
We cannot wait to see you down there, Sue. So thank you so much for coming and telling us a bit about, your own career, but also the festival as well. And just, sharing a bit about, your career journey with us. It's just been a really fascinating chat.
Yeah, I agree.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the festival. After Rachel shared the schedule with me, I immediately bought a ticket. So
she did. She goes, I'm actually going to come.
yeah. Rachel and I can hang out.
I was telling everybody about it back in the beginning when I first kind of agreed to come down and everything. But it wasn't until I actually shared the schedule that people started going, hang on a minute.
It's a really good people. Yeah.
Buying my ticket.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's good.
Yeah, there are fantastic people coming. So, and, you don't get to go to many festivals where you actually get to meet all these editors that, are there for you to pitch to. And that's, for me, that's really important with the festival. And that's why I keep it quite a small festival so that everyone can meet each other and network. And there's been amazing things that have come out of previous festivals with all the networking. So
fantastic. That's great.
Building community.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to, meeting some people down there and maybe, getting some new guests for the podcast as well. It'll be great, actually. And so we'll be seeing you very soon because
and you might not leave.
We might not. We might move to Launceston.
To Launceston, yeah. Yes.
You never know. You're luring everybody there. So doesn't the Mumbrella guy live there now? Tim Burrows. Does he live in Launceston or Hobart?
I think he's in Hobart.
He spends a lot of his time in Tasmania.
Yeah. The editor of the Qantas magazine also moved here recently, Kirsten
Galliot. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she has.
Yeah.
She's been working down there.
Yeah, she moved to Hobart.
Yes.
And this year the festival is sponsoring the very first Freelance Journalist Award at the upcoming MIA State Awards in Tasmania.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
the festival is sponsoring that, got it off the ground because, need to recognise freelance journalists.
Yep.
So we're proud to be the sponsor of that this year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Fantastic.
Wow.
So Sue, I know that your whole schedule is locked in for this year, but what happens, for next year if you do start to run it annually? How could people get in touch with you or, perhaps get themselves considered to be a speaker at the next festival?
Yeah, well, it's really easy. There's a form on the website and it's an expression of interest form. So it just says, leave your details and get in touch and then I'll get back to you. So yeah, just go straight to the website and fill out the form. There's also the email address if you wanted to just email me directly, and some people do. But yeah, and often it's just through people I meet. Like I meet them and say, wow, you'd be great at the festival. Do you want to come? So I can just reach out.
That's the way life works, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So
what do you look for in a good speaker? Do you look for anything specific or does it have to fit in with, the schedule that you're putting together, or how does that sort of work?
Yeah, it's very organic, really. I mean, I just met when I really like them and go, oh, you want to come? Come and talk. And luckily it's always worked out. I haven't had anyone yet who's, been really bad, but it's that. Like one person I met for the first festival, I was coming back from Hobart and I stopped at a bookshop because I really wanted a cup of tea. And I walked in and this woman was at the counter and I just said, could I have a cup of tea? And she said, sure. And I wanted a peppermint. And she made me the wrong tea. She gave me a green tea and I didn't realise till I left because I really hate green tea. But while I was talking to her, found out that she'd worked in this bookshop in Melbourne, and I vaguely remembered her because I used to live in Melbourne. We started chatting and I said, oh, I run a festival. And she said, oh, I'm a writer. And she'd written this book about Tasmanian werewolves in the Midlands. I said, oh, you must come and, talk at the festival. What about running a workshop? And then from that, she was fantastic. So she came up, we became friends, just from that dropping in at that bookshop that day because I wanted a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So things like that happen. And then other people like with you, Rachel, I signed up to your list quite a few years ago and, your newsletters. And I thought, gee, Rachel would be really good. I've got to ask Rachel. And then that's when last year I got my intern to ask you for an interview, or I asked you for an interview.
That's right. I did the interview. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had an intern, like I would take a student and pay them because, I'm a big believer in paying people. So I have a paid intern to do interviews just to give them experience at interviewing people. And you did that interview. And then when I was putting a festival schedule, I thought, I must ask Rachel because she'd be fantastic. So
that's
it's if I've
great.
heard of people is one way that I'll reach out. And I've only ever had one person say no, which is pretty good out of all the people. And I was a bit surprised actually getting that rejection.
Yeah.
Most people are really good and happy to come along, because a lot of people haven't been to Launceston, so they see it as a really good opportunity to come down and, you know, see Lonnie as well.
Yep.
So it's various ways. Yeah.
Quite pain-free too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're putting the schedule together is sort of the easy bit, because it's lots of fun putting that together and seeing who I can ask. So and everyone's been really good about it.
Great. So everyone can go to the website if you wanted to be considered as a speaker for next year. You can go and fill in the expression of interest form, and Sue will get back to you.
That's fantastic.
Right. Or come to the festival.
Or come to the festival and meet Sue in person.
Exactly.
And get her a cup of tea.
Make her a cup of it. Make sure it's peppermint, not green tea.
Not green tea. I had to throw it away, actually. It was so horrible. Luckily, our friendship survived it, though.
Lucky.
It wasn't a deal breaker.
No. Fair enough.
Good one. Well, we will put all the information about the festival into the show notes. So anyone who's interested, who's listening and thinks they might want to check out the schedule or buy a ticket, we'll put those details in. And thanks again, Sue. We'll be seeing you in June.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.